Well, just as we were expecting news on when President Cyril Ramaphosa will announce the cabinet, the UDM, Rise Mzansi, announced their participation in the Government of National Unity, abandoning the Progressive Caucus. We understand that one of those political parties actually was part of the Progressive Caucus. In the wake of all these developments, the cabinet announcement going to be delayed, and what will be the composition of this cabinet. Let's now look with the more parties joining the GNU. To get a better understanding on the GNU developments, we are now joined by political analyst Dr. Levi Ndou. Dr. Ndou, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. What do you make of the growth on one end of the number of political parties that have joined the Government of National Unity, but also on the other end, the Progressive Caucus are losing members to the GNU?
Good morning, Aldrin. Good morning to the viewers at home. Well, I think the first thing to acknowledge is that the situation we're finding ourselves in is something that wasn't highly expected, especially given the short period of time in which government has to be established. But I think also at the same time, those who are for the Government of National Unity could be very excited, but also at the same time, they need to be very cautious. I say so because there could be a number of reasons why some political parties could be joining the Government of National Unity. They might be joining the Government of National Unity to strengthen it, to ensure that the service delivery and South Africa moves forward. Others might also be joining it for personal interest of the politicians themselves and not in the interest of the country. And that is why you might also get elements that have actually been there in the coalitions where some parties would come in and start making unrealistic demands or have high expectations because of their mere participation or support of the GNU. So those are the things, in my view, that we need to be very, very cautious about. But at the same time, the Progressive Alliance appears to be losing members, and it should also be understood in the context that there were a lot of emotions after the elections, and most parties did not know what to do, and that's why certain decisions were taken, where some of the members therefore realized that it might not be good to be part of this or the other. But my sense is that as long as the GNU is properly managed and members are not going into the GNU for personal interest, they go there without hidden agendas, it might actually bring better results for South Africa.
Yeah. The Progressive Caucus, are they weakened then at all? I just want to go quickly to an X here by Julius Malema, the leader of the EFF. He tweeted yesterday, we have made it clear that for us to participate, the DA and the Freedom Front Plus cannot be involved, and we insist on the RDP houses in Oranje. But has the Progressive Caucus been weakened at all? I'm just thinking about what sort of opposition role would they be playing in Parliament, considering, of course, that they also have the third biggest political party, the MK party, also not part of the Government of National Unity.
The voters in South Africa have forced political parties to come together and ensure that there is governance, there is stability and service delivery. We also need to acknowledge that political parties have got their own ideologies, they've got their own standpoints, and to a certain extent, there are political parties that could not see eye to eye and who could not even be prepared to be working together. But the election results in South Africa has created a situation where the ANC has to opt for the Government of National Unity, where all parties have to come in and collaborate in order for government to have progress. The unfortunate part is that, which we should expect, is that some parties would not be prepared to compromise their standpoints, like the EFF would say, that they will not be able to work anywhere where there is the DA and the Freedom Front Plus. And that we should just consider as a stalemate in terms of these political parties. But what we need to acknowledge as well is that even though there has been this standpoint, the Progressive Alliance appears to be losing members on a regular basis. And what I foresee would be that the highest possibility is that some political parties will remain isolated from the GNU. Whether that will be good for the GNU or not is something that we still have to wait and see.
Yeah, but again, I want to go back to this idea, because now we have a government of national unity that has 10 political parties out of the 18 political parties. And then you're going to have the rest, the 8 political parties that are not part of GNU will form part of the opposition to the GNU. How should we understand their ability to be an opposition party, considering, for instance, once again, City Press is reporting that the UDM abandoning the Progressive Caucus because it is in disarray?
Well, I think what we need to acknowledge is that let's expect anything to happen, including other members leaving the Progressive Alliance. I think what could be at play in the Progressive Alliance could be how discussions are structured and who are the people that appear to be leading the Progressive Alliance, and how decisions are being taken in the Progressive Alliance. Do they have bigger brothers in that alliance? Do they have smaller brothers in that alliance? But also at the same time, parties could be checking what then will be their benefits in participating in the GNU or in the Progressive Alliance. And because the GNU keeps saying that the door is open for all parties to come in, then some parties like the UDM, Al Jama-ah, and other parties could have looked at their options and therefore decided to go and join the GNU. At the same time, it is important that those who are for the GNU and those that are in the Progressive Alliance should continue to exercise their responsibility of oversight, ensuring that there is accountability, there is openness and transparency on the part of government, and assist each other in being the check and balances for all the politicians and the structures and systems that are in place in government. Being part of the GNU, in my view, does not necessarily mean that you are not going to ensure that those that are in the positions of authority are not accountable. You also have to continue exercising your responsibility, but if you're also given a responsibility, do that to the best of your ability.
Okay, so considering the statement that has been issued by the ANC that they've now concluded the first phase of this initiative with the 10 political parties, Clause 24, they say will now apply, where the founding members, and these 10 political parties are now considered the founding members of the GNU, will have to discuss a new application that comes forward. Do you think that the interpretation last week on Clause 24 and the statement that has been issued now by the ANC means that there has been consensus amongst the political parties, especially the Democratic Alliance, around that interpretation of Clause 24 of the agreement, and also an acceptance of the Patriotic Alliance being part of the Government of National Unity, at least from the Democratic Alliance's side?
It would appear as if
it would be on the basis of what the president has decided in exercising his...
But also at the same time, you need to have these kind of issues to be properly clarified, in the sense that because you've opened doors for everyone, you should also be available as well to explain what this GNU is all about, what is it that is expected from them, but also at the same time, put an emphasis on the fundamentals, like the main constitutionalism, as it has always been emphasized.
I want to go back to a conversation that I had with Mzansi and Al earlier this week. He is the chief whip of the ANC, and I asked him about, in terms of allocation of executive positions, would it be proportional to the numbers that have been that have been won by the political parties that are part of the Government of National Unity. Just take a listen to what he has to say, and also the question around the deputy president position, which the Sunday Times is reporting this morning, that the Democratic Alliance still want to push for John Steenhuisen to become the deputy president of the country. Take a listen to what he had to say.
It's a definite no. It would be on the basis of what the president has decided in exercising his prerogative.
So meaning that he could take one person from the DA and take five from the IFP?
So he can. That's why it's not even part of the statement of intent, because we understood that, you know, when we said in the document, we must respect the Constitution. We can't be selective. Part of what the Constitution says is that the prerogative to determine not just the composition of the cabinet, but the members that can be chosen to serve in the cabinet reside with the President of the Republic as the head of state. And there's no way that we're going to amend that because we are in the GNU. Of course, the President is very conscious about the imperative to consolidate the GNU and to ensure that it succeeds. And I think he's going to reach out to all political parties consistent with that appreciation.
Has the ANC had a conversation at all around the role of the leader of a government business, whether it stays with the deputy president of the country, whether it moves to another executive member of the executive, and whether Paul Mashatile does come back as the deputy president of the country?
Well, we haven't had that discussion at my level. When I'm saying my level, in the National Working Committee or the National Executive Committee, these are matters that are usually handled by the national officials of the ANC. But I can say that I would imagine that the president of the ANC and the president of the country will consider the deputy president of the ANC as the deputy president of the country. I think that is most logical, and that is expected not just from me as a member of the ANC, even from the supporters who voted for the ANC to be a leading party in the formation of the new government in this country.
Well, Dr. Ndou, what do you make of what Mzansi and Al had to say there, considering right now there seems to be a tussle over the allocation of those executive seats, including that of the deputy president?
There are a few things that we need to consider. The first thing that we need to consider is that we have got a government of national unity which comprise of different political parties in South Africa. And the expectation is that when the president has to appoint his cabinet, he could look at other political parties and grant them executive positions. Point number two is that immediately when the president is elected in the National Assembly, this person is given constitutional powers to appoint cabinet. And what we do know is that this person might consult, this person might talk to other people, but the ultimate responsibilities lies in this person called the president. I want South Africa to avoid, and those who are in the GNU, not to be overtaken by excitement and start infringing onto the powers given to an individual, who in this case is the president, that of appointing cabinet. Because if such happens, it might take us to another era of the new state capture, where certain people go and instruct the president on what is supposed to happen. But in a normal GNU setup, of course, there could be views or suggestions that he might get from other people, but the president should not be afraid to exercise the constitutional powers that is given to him by the Constitution of the Republic, because if he does so, he might be violating the very same Constitution that you say is the highest law of the land.
Well, it also seems that this stalemate has had an impact on the announcement of the cabinet in Gauteng.
Of course, it appears as if the arrangements or agreements at national level has implications on the provincial sphere of government. We have seen what has happened with the establishment of the Executive Council in KwaZulu-Natal, and that could be the case in Gauteng. My sense is that though we are trailing in these uncharted islands, What we need to do is that we need to trail very cautiously, but also at the same time doing our best to nurse the baby, which is the government of national unity, because if political parties would come with high expectations and they do not cooperate and be transparent and open with one another, we might also see the collapse of the GNU. And my sense is that if political parties go to this GNU having in their mind that they are going to personally get positions and benefit, this might also signal the end of the GNU that most people thought it might bring stability and good results for South Africa.